Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cuban Assassin Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Acevedo, also known as the Cuban Assassin. On the last episode, we had talked about the reformation of the new Cuban Assassins, where Jack Kruger had teamed up with my dad to create the new Cuban Assassins. Then later on, he changed his name to the Iranian Assassin. While my dad was wrestling, my mom was at home taking care of my sister Cindy and myself, but my mom had gotten sick and had to go into the hospital. Now, while our mom was in the hospital, she left my sister Cindy and myself in the care of our cousin Charlotte. And Charlotte moved in with us while dad was wrestling and mom was in the hospital to take care of us. But unfortunately, Charlotte was a very young woman and she was having a lot of wild parties that involved alcohol and drugs. And my sister Cindy and myself had to witness all this and had to endure this. And there was just times she was hateful to us. And unfortunately, all the memories that I have of my cousin Charlotte is all bad. Now, in the meantime, my dad and Jack Kruger would separate and no longer be a tag team. So now my dad is being a singles wrestler all over again. And now dad's trying to find a tag team partner. He would go through a revolving door of many different tag team partners, such as the Stomper Archie Gold, as well as Bad News Allen, or otherwise known as Bad News Brown. But dad would go through a revolving door of tag team partners trying to find a tag team partner. So even though he wrestled in singles competition, he was trying to find a tag team partner. Let's take a look at one of the matches with my dad involved as a tag team.
And we're going to try and do some introductions here. This match would be a main event on any card anywhere in the world. This is Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling at its best. Introducing, at 270 pounds, coming from East Germany, Hans Hermann. And his tag team partner today, at 236 pounds, coming from Havana, Cuba, the eighth wonder of the world, the Cuban Assassin. And their opponents today, at 272 pounds, coming from Shediac, the Maritime Heavyweight Wrestling Champion, Big Stephen Patapon. And his tag team partner, at 237 pounds, coming from Dorchester, Leo Burke. The referee, Bernie Richard. Fans, this is a match of all matches. We're going to sit back and watch this one happen. Big Stephen Patapon and Leo Burke together as the Atlantic-Canada connection against Hans Hermann and the Cuban Assassin, as Leo Burke and the Cubans start things off. And this match, well, I'm just going to sit back and watch this one with you at home. Fans, this is stupendous. Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling going to every expense in the world to present their finest matches right here on television. You've got it here in this particular match today. Hans Hermann, now tagged. His tag team partner is the Cuban Assassin. And on the other side, the Atlantic-Canada connection, Leo Burke and Big Stephen Patapon. Fans, you'll not get that kind of action anywhere in the world but here on Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling, and we've got it today. Hans Hermann with a headlock on Leo Burke. Hans Hermann using an old wrestling trick to indicate that Leo was pulling the tights and gets the referee's attention away, a little bit of hair, and he's got the whole reverse. So we're not going to see that test of strength carried out as it should be. Got the tag, and in comes the Cuban. This match requires very little in the way of commentary. It's all self-explanatory. No need to elaborate on this one. The tag team of the Cuban Assassin and Hans Herman tagging up extremely well, showing that they've been around the square circle in the tag team situation before. Leo Burke and Big Stephen Pettipaw have been as well, but they have not had the opportunity to get the tag. Hans Herman with the headlock on Leo Burke. And anyone that's ever had a headlock applied by a big fella like Hans Herman knows that that can be a devastating hold, and one that can be, the pain can be excruciating. Meanwhile, Big Stephen Pettipaw not allowed to come in, although he did tag up. Referee Bernie Richard did not see it. And the Cuban and Hans Herman taking advantage of every situation, double-teamed and whipped Leo Burke into the turnbuckle. And that will set the growth just a little bit. The tag, and in comes Hans Herman. Cuban Assassin able to get that tag, and he's still outside the studio, outside the ring. Cuban Assassin in great pain. Leo Burke in a similar situation. Great pain being inflicted by Hans Herman. You see the upper body strength of this man, Hans Herman. Without going around your head, it's not much wonder wrestlers get cauliflower ears. Leo Burke, who has a counter for just about every maneuver there is in the book, found one for that one. But not in time to get a tag and get his tag team partner, Big Stephen Pettipaw, in. And the Cuban Assassin putting the headlock on Leo Burke and continuing that pressure. Applied the way it's applied by these fellas, that'll cut an awful lot of blood off to the brain, and that will really weaken your opponent very quickly. So you can imagine the situation that Leo Burke finds himself in right now. He's been the recipient of this for a while. Look out! Cuban Assassin just found the turnbuckles. Thank you, Leo Burke. There's the tag, and in comes Hans Herman. And Leo Burke is trying to get the tag, and he does. Hans Herman tried to prevent the tag, but Big Stephen Pettipaw is in, and here's two big fellas going at it now. They're both about the same weight. There's about 2 pounds difference between them. Hans Herman and Big Stephen Pettipaw. And Big Stephen has uppercut Hans Herman 3 times into the mat. And look, let's meet mine. Woof. Big Stephen Pettipaw is cleaning up. Look out. Big Stephen Pettipaw is cleaning house on Hans Herman and the Cuban Assassin. He's got both of them out. Going for the pin. He's got 1, 2. He might have had 3. He certainly would have had closer, but the Cuban Assassin in to break it up. Leveled with a mule kick is Hans Herman. 2. He's got a tag, and in comes the Cuban assassin, and fans, this is professional wrestling at its best. Big Stephen Pettipaw and the Cuban assassin right now. Stephen had things going his way. And the Cuban assassin with the Russian leg sweep. Takedown on Big Stephen Pettipaw. Leo Burke comes in to break that one up. Referee Bernie Richard did not see the tag, so he's going to allow Hans Herman in to stay. And Big Stephen able to kick his way out of that one. Into the turnbuckle goes Big Stephen Pettipaw, all 272 pounds. We've never been able to sit down and work out the foot-pounds of what that force of that 272 pounds hitting that turnbuckle, driven by a 270-pounder. I tell you, that's force and energy in great abundance. Double teaming by Hans Herman and the Cuban assassin on Big Stephen Pettipaw. We got the Cuban assassin in, and here comes Leo Burke. He's had a few minutes to collect his thoughts, and immediately meets Hans Herman. Look, Cuban. Leo up flying with the big drop kick. Yeah, saved a few elbows for Hans Herman. Into the abdominal stretch goes Hans Herman, as applied by Leo Burke, and nobody can apply it like Leo Burke can, but he gets a tag, and in comes Big Stephen Pettipaw. Fans, this is some kind of match. We've reached the 6-minute mark, and this match on today's card of Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling has Leo Burke and the Cuban assassin is up on the top rope, and look out, Big Stephen Pettipaw. Look out! Hans Herman. A 232-pound missile coming at Hans Herman, and he is in tough shape. And we've got a count. Yes, sir, we've got a count off 3 at 7 minutes, 12 seconds. Big Stephen Pettipaw and Leo Burke are victorious in getting the first fall in this match on Hans Herman, while Leo Burke was looking after the Cuban assassin to make sure he did not interfere. Hans Herman, the victim of the first fall. So it's one fall. They're claiming tights, but no tights involved there. Okay, Big Stephen Pettipaw and Hans Herman still in. They must engage before they're able to tag up and change. So we've got one fall for Big Stephen Pettipaw and Leo Burke. Fans, this is all self-explanatory, I'll tell you. There's so much action going on in that ring. We've got Big Stephen Pettipaw pounding away on Hans Herman now. Meanwhile, Cuban, look at that big flying knee. Oh, Big Stephen Pettipaw, he's got 1, 2. And Hans Herman didn't need the help of the Cuban assassin. And Leo Burke is going to put Hans Herman into the airplane spin, and down goes the Cuban. Down goes Hans Herman, and Leo falls in a daze himself. 1, 2. That's all. If he had not interfered, I would have to assume that Hans Herman would have been the victim of the second fall if the Cuban assassin had not come in to break it out. We reached the 9-minute mark in this match on today's card of Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling. This is a most falls match. Leo Burke and Hank Herman in the ring now, but it's Leo Burke and Big Stephen Patapau with one fall. Leo Burke being double teamed by the Cuban assassin and Hank Herman. Hank Herman off the ropes, and look now, Cuban. Oh, not only did he nail the Cuban, but the Cuban also nailed the studio wall right outside. The Cuban assassin took a double pounding on that one by Hank Herman. We've got one fall to Big Stephen Patapau and Leo Burke over Hank Herman and the Cuban assassin. And for the chrome dome of Hank Herman, we've got the boot of Leo Burke waiting for him. Look out, and into the sleeper goes Hank Herman. And the Cuban is now the recipient of the sleeper hold, but Hank Herman able to break that one up. Oh, nice maneuver by Stephen Patapau. Step over toe hold, going down for his figure four leg lock, but not getting a chance to apply it as the Cuban assassin come in to break it up. Meanwhile, we've got the Cuban assassin digging for some object and nails Big Stephen Patapau right on the throat. There's the tag, and in comes the Cuban. A double whip, and up and over goes Big Stephen Patapau. Down for the pin. 1-2, but he's got the rope. And the Cuban assassin applies his own version off the sleeper hold on Big Stephen Patapau. Fans cheering Big Stephen Patapau on to get out of it. And Leo figures there's going to be a problem. Now Leo Burke applies the sleeper hold to the Cuban. Leo Burke says, let's get it together. The Cuban and Hank Herman get your thoughts together. And that's just exactly what happens. And now we've got bedlam breaking loose in the studio here. We've got Leo Burke and the Cuban assassin outside the studio floor. And we've got Big Stephen Patapau and Hank Herman inside the ring. And Leo Burke is driven into the studio wall by the Cuban assassin. Fans, you're going to have to bear with us. We've got action that's all taking place out in the studio here. The Cuban assassin's the only one in the ring. No, now Hank Herman is, Leo Burke is, and Big Stephen Patapau is. So we've got everybody back in the ring. And let's meet in the middle. Thank you to Big Stephen Patapau and Leo Burke. We've got a pin attempt here by Leo. 1, 2, and a kick out by Hank Herman. That's about all the time. There's the bell. That's the time limit on this match today. So, we've got the bell, and referee Bernie Richard raises the hand of Big Stephen Patapau and Leo Burke by virtue of their one-fall victory over Hank Herman and the Cuban.
Meanwhile, back home with our cousin Charlotte taking care of my sister Cindy and myself, she had this one big party one time at my mom's house when my mom was still in the hospital. And somehow my Aunt Esther, my mom's sister, called and heard all the commotion and then got a hold of Mom, and Mom sent Aunt Esther over to come get Cindy and myself. And she showed up, and everybody ran out all the doors in our home to get away when she said the party was over. My Aunt Esther became my sister Cindy and my hero that day. My mom would eventually come home from the hospital, and then my dad would come home and visit, and that would be the last visit, and after that he was gone. That would be when my mom and my dad would separate. Here's a match with my dad in singles.
Free Wrestling. My name is Bill McCullough, and I invite you to join me for the next hour of the finest in professional wrestling. Well, the action has already started, and we're not even underway, so let's do the introductions more formally. Introducing at 232 pounds, coming from Havana, Cuba, the eighth wonder of the world, the Cuban Assassin. And his opponent today, introducing at 230 pounds, coming from Columbia, South Carolina, Sergeant Ryan O'Connor. And the referee for this match is Ron Gauguin. Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling. The Cuban Assassin and Sergeant Ryan O'Connor start our matches off today in fine fashion, as the young man from Columbia, South Carolina, takes on the eighth wonder of the world, the Cuban Assassin. Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling, presenting the finest in professional wrestling, and you're getting a good close-up shot there of the action. There's a nice reversal by Sergeant Ryan O'Connor as he starts flailing away on the person of the eighth wonder of the world, the Cuban Assassin, and he chases him outside the ring. The Cuban Assassin figures it's probably safer inside the ring, and now we've got the ring all broken. I'll tell you, these guys have been going some hard. As we've got the ring all split, the middle rope has broken on the ring. That just shows you the way that these fellas are hitting those turnbuckles and snap that chain. I'm not sure what you would call that in the terms of chain, but you can imagine the pressure that's put on it, so you can tell the type of chain it is. And well, these guys just, I guess, the second time in 3 or 4 weeks now that we've had the chain broken. We'll get some repairs underway, and we'll be all set while the match continues. Sergeant Ryan O'Connor. That's a name you're going to remember. O'Connor, of course, a very famous name in the world of professional wrestling. Not only in professional wrestling as well, many other circles. But in professional wrestling, the name O'Connor certainly sticks out in everyone's mind. Irish Pat O'Connor. This young man is Sergeant Ryan O'Connor, a man that you're going to hear a lot from, as he takes on the Cuban Assassin, who's looking for a handshake. He wants to start things off in a little better tone, but O'Connor's not going to fall for that. Not going to participate in that. As he got a nice reversal into twisting armbar. Opening match action, today's card of Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling. Some of the tactics of the Cuban Assassin left open for discussion. You saw one of them there. The hair pull and shot to the throat by the Cuban Assassin on the person of Ryan O'Connor. You see fans over the other side claiming some kind of foreign object was used, and we're joined at the interview table by the European heavyweight wrestling champion, Killer Carl Krupp.
As you notice, Mr. McClocklock, there is an immediate improvement in the Cuban Assassin. since he signed up with the Germans. He knows which side his blood is better on. The man is ready. He is ready because he has the superior entrance into a superior group of people, namely Mr. Hunt Herman and myself, Killer Carl, the European champion. And look at the man.
Okay, we'll take a good look at, we'll see the action in the ring. Pat Herman and Killer Carl Krupp, now joined by none other than the Cuban Assassins. And that makes a devastating trio. Oh, Sergeant Ryan Pepper caught coming off the ropes. 1, 2, and 3. The Cuban Assassin showing his experience, catching Ryan O'Connor coming off the ropes in almost a clothesline type. And you could just see the whip of his neck as he was whipped to the canvas. He's still flat out. Well, the winner of this match, at 4 minutes, 17 seconds, the Cuban Assassin, the 8th wonder of the world. We're back with more professional wrestling on Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling in just a moment.
Next time on the Cuban Assassin podcast, we'll be discussing more about the separation between my mother and my father, and when hard times starts to come upon my mom, my sister Cindy, and myself. The Cuban Assassin podcast is written, produced, edited, and directed by me, Richie Acevedo at Mountain Man Productions. Special thanks goes to Ben Hilton for the opening and closing demographics of our program. As well, special thanks goes to Rene Dupree and the Gauguin family for the film footage used in today's podcast. Special thanks goes to my late mother, Yvonne Dempsey, for all the photographs used in today's podcast. And you can reach me at Mountain Man Productions at Outlook.com. That's capital M for Mountain, capital M for Man, and capital P for Productions at Outlook.com. Or you can even just leave a comment. I'd like to thank you for watching this episode of the Cuban Assassin podcast, and we'll see you next time on the next edition of the Cuban Assassin podcast.